Hello, I'm Joel Villafana, and this is the Ascension Football Show. Terence Fenwick and his men off to a flyer. The road to Qatar 2022 has begun, and our Soca Warriors off to a good start, defeating the Golden Jaguars of Guyana by 3-0. We assess their performance next. This is the Ascension Football Show.
In the context of things, we need to get past this group.
When you look at the quality that Trinidad and Tobago has from the defensive pairing of Primus and Bato,
I lose a little sleep over the system because of some players trying to fit in.
That's our big story. Our national footballers off to a fantastic start, defeating Guyana by 3-0, and that means Trinidad and Tobago on top of their group. Now remember, this group is winner takes all, losers go home. We must top the group in order to move on, so it's a very, very important start for this team under Terence Fenwick. Sorry, I'm calling him Terence Fenwick. When he wins, he's Terence. When he loses, he'll be Terry. Today, he's Terence Fenwick. Fantastic performance. The team has done pretty well. A win is a win is a win. And to break it all down for us, we have two gentlemen joining me on the set. None other than former national. These fellas have so many titles, so I'm trying to choose. I'm trying to choose selectively. Former national defender, club owner, former national minister of sport, and I could go on and on and on. But you know him and love him as Brent Sancho. He's here with us. Next to him is another gentleman with a lot of titles, but he is famously known as the East Zone president recently. He's also the tournament director of the Ascension Football League, as well as so many other things that I am failing to remember now. None other than Kyron Bo Edwards is here with us. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. Thanks for joining us. Let's start, guys. First of all, a win is a win is a win. 3 points is 3 points. Brent, you would know that. You come away with 3 points, you forget what happened in the game, and you move on.
Correct. It's a good result for us. Obviously, the performance is something that is left to be desired. It wasn't the kind of performance we'd want to see. Yeah. But in terms of the result, it's a good result. Taking all things into consideration, leading up to it, of course, the USA 7-0 debacle that we would have experienced. And of course, all the off-the-field issues we would have had leading up to it. I think it was important to get that result, as you rightfully said, not from only a position point of view, but to start the way we have started in this group format. It's a good result for Trinidad and Tobago.
Karen, with what's happening, I suppose, in Trinidad and Tobago's football, compounded by a pandemic, I mean, we know what was happening on the ground here. So for a national team to go into the start of a World Cup campaign and come away with, as I said, 3 points, I mean, has to be there must be some positives there.
Yeah, I believe there's a lot of positive from the win. It was a must-win game for the team, for the grouping. With everything that happened before the team left, I think the normalization committee needed a win. I think was a sigh of relief when the first goal went in. I think Ghana didn't give themselves any help with the other 2 goals. But I think we needed the win. It was a good win. In the context of things, we need to get past this group. It's a group that Trinidad is expected to come out on top.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, the game left a lot in terms of what we'll do in the next round. Mm-hmm. Next round is a home and away. The teams would be better opposition. So we need to start to use these games as a stepping stone to a better play, because the play left a lot on the field yesterday.
And let's get into that just a bit now. Let's start with the lineup, gents. Brent, were you happy with what you saw? There are a couple debutants in there, new goalkeeper, Denmark-based goalkeeper coming into the fray. Let's just talk about the lineup, first 11 that came onto the field.
I think in particular the middle of the park, I was a bit surprised with the use of Punanjan and Phillips, in particular 2 youngsters, I believe is their first or second cap. I know for sure for Phillips it's his first cap.
Teenagers.
And that essentially, of course, being your engine room of your team, to start with those youngsters was a big gamble by the coach. That being said, I thought they handled themselves very, very well. In particular, Phillips. I thought he got himself about the park and stamped his authority in the middle of the field, and it's certainly one for the future for Trinidad and Tobago. I was very happy with his performance. I think outside of that, when you look at the quality that Trinidad and Tobago has from the defensive pairing of Primus and Bato, they've played together through the youth ranks of the national setup all the way up. There would be a certain understanding there between the two, and of course somebody like Levi Garcia, who was my man of the match, who's in terrific form in Europe at his club. It really was a team that I kind of expected. As I said, the Milady Park with the inexperience was a little bit of a surprise, but it worked well for us. As Kieran would have mentioned, of course, you have to put things in context because the Guyanese team was very, very poor. Particularly in the middle of the park. I thought they allowed our midfield a lot of time and space to, of course, be able to mount the attacks that we did. And as I said, Levi Garcia, who had a man of the match type of performance, was what gave the Guyanese defense all sorts of trouble for the entire night. So from a lineup perspective, it's a big squad, a lot of quality in there. But I said the biggest gamble for me was in the middle of the park.
Kieran, as Brent mentioned, Levi had a very good game, but on the flip side, one of the players that we expect to always have a good turnout in Joven Jones, he had a stinker.
He
was just off on the night, I thought. For
me, Joven was expected to be a hit and miss. Not playing football for a while. I know he recently signed his contract with Miami FC. Hasn't been to the club as yet. He would be engaging with the club after these qualifiers. So, not playing any warm-up games with the national team, although being in Trinidad, it was expected that it would have been would take some time for him to get in the rhythm of the game. And you saw that from the first half. The missed penalty, I think, really compounded his lack of playing time. So, I think Levi in this game, I really believe that Levi stepped up as the man to lead the team. And I think that was, if not the biggest takeaway from the game, is Levi stepping up and coming into big man football, as we say in Trinidad. No Molino. So normally we'd have leaned on Molino at these games, at World Cup qualifiers for the last couple of years. So Levi stepping into those shoes, I think, was a positive for the national team in last night's game.
Let's stay on Levi a bit, and let's just go through the goals very quickly, guys. 8th minute of the game, as I said, early breakthrough for Trinidad and Tobago. Levi Garcia muscling past a couple of defenders and slotting it home. Nice goal, right?
Yeah, nice goal, and it shows his maturity and where he is at now as a footballer. He's still very young as it relates to professional football and international football. But I think his contribution to the national team last night in particular, outside of the St. Vincent game where I think he scored a double in that game a couple years back, this is arguably his best performance in national colours. And what he brings to the team is a different dimension. It's been a while since Trinidad and Tobago has had a 1v1 player with the talent, the explosiveness, the ability that Levi bring. You started thinking of the likes of Leonson Lewis and the Clint Marcells of this world. And he is in that mold, and you don't see that as often in football anymore. And to bring what he brought to the game, I think really unsettled the Guyanese, because he was running directly at his opposition. He was taking on persons, and he didn't settle for a pass. He settled for trying to get past his opponent every single time. And I think that really drove the Guyanese back, because they were trying to, of course, press high and try to get Trinidad to make errors. But because of the way Levi approached the game, it gave us the opportunity to build in it. And of course, scoring very early, it would have settled a lot of nerves. It's remarkable that we sit here and we talk about Trinidad trying to come out of a group of Caribbean opponents. We don't talk that language. We normally pass that. We normally pass that stage. And leading up to the game, within the football fraternity and within the nation, the conversation outside of Trinidad and Tobago is that whether or not Trinidad and Tobago could come out of this group. And you're talking about teams that normally...
Bahamas.
Correct. St.
Kitts, Puerto Rico. Those are teams that have no problem at all. But anyone coming into this game could not predict that Trinidad would win. We were nervous going into this game.
We were very nervous. Exactly.
We didn't know what team would have shown up.
It is astonishing to know that is the kind of conversation now that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. It is sad, but as you rightfully said, Levi has really been a bright spot for us, and I hope now moving forward, and this is without a Kevin Molino, who I think is an exceptional player and will obviously add to what we have. But if Levi could be consistent, I think that is the question, whether he could be consistent, I think Trinidad could move up in gears because of his type of performance.
Just before I go to the second goal, you see a Levi Garcia and a Kevin Molino playing together?
I think they can.
Yeah.
I think what lacked in the midfield, although I thought Punanjanon and Phillips did well, was a creative spark. It seems like they asked Highland to play more of a 8, a box-to-box midfielder, not sit. Punanjanon did the sitting. I think what will happen is they may look at shifting Highland back in the sitting position and allow Molino to express himself moving forward and be the creative spark.
Second goal, Kieran, it was Garcia involved again from the free kick, and as I said, the ball just literally fizzed through, and Bato just had a nice little waist type goal. Defensive errors.
Defensive errors.
Yeah.
Ghana lacked some discipline in the back defensively. At sometimes Trinidad as well. I think we looking at the game, the second goal. Good players have a way, a knack of putting the ball in the right spot. We saw it with Ronaldinho against England in the World Cup. You put across a good cross, good quality, somehow it finds the back of the net. I think that luckily it happened with us. So I truly believe that we need to have more of those good moments with the Trinidad team. Somewhere in the first half, I think we went flat. I saw Levi coming off in the second half early. Don't know if he poked up or not in the first half, but we didn't step up our next gear. There's no one coming off the bench. The concern for me is that on the bench squad, there's no one coming off the bench to give any injection of pace, of attack, taking off Levi, taking off Joven. The team went flat. Gave Ghana opportunity to come back into the game. Ghana not being as formidable as we would have expected, or I think we'd have measured in the preparation Trinidad against themselves. So I think that's where the concern came when everybody thought, well, what would we do in that Ghana game? Seeing Ghana play, I think it's Ghana of old. It wasn't even the Ghana of Jamal Shabazz that came and gave us a run. So we need to be conscious of that. The team needs to be conscious of that. Levi, as Brent mentioned, needs to be consistent in his performances. I think in the last World Cup qualifiers, he had some good games, had some good runs, but then was inconsistent in his performances under Stephen Hart. So this is an opportunity for him to step up, to be the guy, to be the man. We know Molino is going down in age. They have to play together. They have to work together for us to advance anywhere in the qualifiers. They have to play together for us to see they even reach the World Cup. Levi and Molino need to be on top of the game every game.
Yeah.
So I think that is what we're looking for as Trinidadians.
35th minute, penalty to Trinidad and Tobago, and Joven Jones having a stinker, as I said, fluffed it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was surprised that he took the penalty.
He took the penalty. I was a little surprised about it.
And I thought either Telfo or Levi would have stepped up and taken it. But Joven is a senior player, and he doesn't mind the responsibility. It certainly was a penalty, a clumsy challenge in the box. And again, it sums up the Guyanese performance throughout the game. But I think the penalty is not a guaranteed goal. So missing the penalty for me is okay. It's what happened after.
Yeah. I could have put with that rebound.
Exactly.
I could have put with that rebound. Bam up in the
VAR. It was an easy tap.
Brent would have scored.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, that particular moment summed up what Joven was going through in the game. For all accounts and purposes, it was extremely unprofessional, because as a player of his maturity and ability, you should be just putting that ball into the back of the net. And I'm very sure when he goes to Inter Miami, those sides of situations, if he does come into those kinds of situations, I would think that he would just put it into the back of the net. I think he took a lot of liberties in trying to do what he did. And it was a big disappointment. It was a dangerous time too, because 2-0 is arguably the most dangerous score in football. And I thought a third goal there might have given us the platform to go on to a 5 or 6-0 or whatever. But he missed the penalty.
The third goal did come, another defensive error, Kieran, in the 43rd minute, just before the halftime whistle. The goalkeeper making a meal of it, nutmegged, and Telfer had the easiest goal he would ever score in his
Yeah, I
life.
believe Telfer in the game lacked a bit of pace and directness to the goal. As a forward, I think the whole of Trinidad was looking at the new forward. Who would be the person to be the new Sturgeon, or the last campaign was Kenwin Jones? Who would be that person who would step up and really take the mantle of scoring goals for Trinidad? I think he lacked a bit in the game, and getting a gift, I hope that could build his confidence for the next game. I know the keeper played with Central FC with Brent, so I don't know if Brent would have had any discussion with him. Well, give him one. Give him
The Guyanese keeper?
The Guyanese keeper.
Right,
yeah.
so Brent knows him well.
Yeah, that was my Central FC
he
keeper.
did very well.
He played Pro League in Pro League. He's a bit old now. So I think coming, he wasn't decisive in terms of if he should clear it outside the box, and by the time he reached on top the 18, I think it was all gone there, going through his hands, through his legs. It was poor. Ghana really made some blunders that really cost them. Right before that goal as well, they got a chance.
Yeah.
They missed. So it was an important time in the game for Ghana and both for Trinidad. Not missing the penalty and then getting the opportunity. I think it was really a gift for us.
Brent, just talk to me about that, because in terms of what Kieran said, we've always had a striker that the country believes in, that kind of thing. A Sturgeon, a Kenwin Jones in recent times, a Dwight York in his day, and Ryan Telfer is being groomed, tested. Are there other strikers out there that we could get excited by?
I think what he brings that is different to the table of strikers that we have now in Trinidad and Tobago is that his work rate. I think his work rate last night was phenomenal.
Terence Fenner could like that.
Yeah, he would like that. Yes,
Terence
would definitely like that. He chased a lot of lost causes. He made it difficult for the Guyanese backline to settle. And despite the fact, as Kieran would have rightfully said, his quality and his overall performance was not up to scratch. I think the fact that, I think from a coaching perspective, he would be happy with the work rate that he put in, because he did unsettle the Guyanese defender. Look, the goal that he scored, he took a chance. He because of his pressure on the defender, on the last man, and the goalkeeper for that matter, that's why he got the goal, because he was there and he put in the pressure and he worked very, very hard. If he could add some quality to what he is doing, I think he would be able to lead the line for us. At the end of the day, Trinidad and Tobago is a team that is aspiring to qualify for the World Cup. We're not just trying to come out of a group. So when you get to that phase of the Mexicos and the Jamaicas of this world, you need quality. And by that time, you would hope that Telfer, with, of course, scoring goals and building his confidence, his quality may go up a bit. You can't just have good work rate, because when you get to the next level, you need good work rate and good quality. And we've been very fortunate in this country, as mentioned, that we've always had strikers with that in their repertoire. So it was good for him, but I think still quality-wise, if he could build on it, I think we'll be in a good space.
Do you agree, Kieran? I'm jumping on to the second half now, because Kieran had mentioned that he was very concerned about the lack of quality on the bench. In the second half, we seem to have tailed. A couple of substitutions came on, and as you said, we're expecting probably at least 2 more goals to do a nice 5-0 round it off, stamp our authority in the group. That didn't happen.
And I think that's where most football fans' concerns are right now. We are happy with the result, yes, but if you talk to anybody in any football fraternity, we weren't happy with the performance. And I think the second half is indicative of that. In a game when you're up 3 goals and you expect to come out, possess the ball, of course, start to open up your opponents more and of course, express yourself a bit more. And we didn't see that. It looked like we regressed from what we did in the first half. You felt they would have come out and build on it. We started to look a bit disorganized, and even with the subs that came on, they didn't add to what was happening as well. And it is a big concern, because you expected going in 3-0 that the game could have easily gone into a 5 or 6 if we had gone in the ascendancy, and you didn't see that. You didn't see a shift in gear, and you have to wonder what was the reasoning behind that. You have to wonder what was said in halftime and in the locker room, what approach was taken. And as I said at the start of this, we had a lot of possession in the middle of the park. If you looked at the game, we possessed the ball a lot in the middle third, and a lot of it, the possession was square, and of course going side to side, but nothing really penetrative. You didn't see anything really penetrative, and that is a concern going into the Puerto Rico game.
Let me quickly get, before we just look ahead a little bit. Kieran, you saw what Terrence was playing? Fenwick.
Well, you won, so
you won,
yeah,
he's Terrence.
yeah.
Systematic wise, strategy wise, you were comfortable with what you saw on the pitch from the coaching point of view?
I was comfortable with what I saw. The team, being a new team, this is the first game with a lot of the players as a grouping. Played a safe team, missing Molino. I believe he went with a experienced midfielder with 2 young, energetic runners around him in terms of Highland being the experience with the young guys in the middle. He went with guys that picked the serve, Jovin and Levi. So I think the system in terms of pressing high, unsettling the defense, as Brent said, I think that worked in his favor. In the second half, I believe some of the guys coming in really didn't stick to the game plan as much as he wanted it. And the game being 3-0, I think guys didn't understand their come on and put energy and let's press. It's a group. We need to get goal average matters. Let's go after Guyana. They had a poor night. Let's put in 5-6. I think everybody else in any other group catching a team playing at the level that Guyana did that last night. 5-1, 5-6-0. We needed to really to establish ourselves. I think as a grouping, I think they missed the opportunity to really get back some sense of dominance in the Caribbean with that performance last night. But with the system and the formation, I think he played it safe, and I think he had to with all the pressures around the team as well.
Quick look ahead, Brent. I saw Sheldon Bato came off at the halftime, and then I think at the end of the game I saw Highland took a bit of a knock and he left the field limping. That was my observation. 2 critical players in this lineup. Looking ahead to the Puerto Rico game on Sunday, I think we're just hoping that both players will play.
Yeah, I think in particularly Bato is a big part of our defensive shape, structure, and what we do defensively. Injuries will always be a concern when you're playing in such a short space of time. And of course, you add travel and all the COVID restrictions in that. And recovery is, of course, important. But Puerto Rico is one of the teams, I think, coming into this grouping, is that they were one of the dark horses. And when you look at the collection of players that they have, a lot of them play in the USL and in the MLS as well. They have a good coach, a former American coach for the US, and they're well organized. They were unfortunate to lose to St. Kitts, a game that they dominated for most part, so they're not going to be any pushovers. And then you add to the fact that we had a very poor second half, and 9 times out of 10 when you're playing World Cup qualifying football, your second half of football is normally the prelude to your next game. So when you have a good second half, you normally go into the next game building on what you just did. So the question really is how they're going to approach it. Are they going to go with 2 set? Are they going to go more defensively, or are they going to go for it? So I think those are questions that Terrence has to answer as to how he approaches it. But at the end of the day, I think there are 1 or 2 concerns there, injury-wise, approach-wise, tactically. And of course, performance-wise in the second half in particular, going into this one, those are factors that I think that will play heavily in how Sunday game goes.
Kieran, you got to win this group. 3 points against Puerto Rico is very important.
Yeah, I believe we should get 3 points in each game. Coming out of this, all the winners would play at home and away. I think that would be the real test for me in terms of how we treat with those those 2 games after the group. I'm expecting full maximum points. I'm expecting in every game in this group.
Okay, that's a lot of confidence.
Yeah. I believe.
Confidence in Terrence.
No, I believe he has the squad. I believe he has the squad to get past.
Yeah.
Get past these teams. Persons would have mentioned St. Kitts as a team that could give a bit of a challenge, but it's Trinidad. I believe the guys that came out and played last night, I believe they are motivated enough and they know the importance of getting out of this group. The win last night, I think, would start them on a good foot. Yeah. They should build from this. They should be. I think the message going out to the team right now should be: we need to build. We need to go from strength to strength. We got the win. We tick that box. We got the 3 points. Now it's started. Let us work on our performance. Let us work on little things that would help us in the future. I think I believe once we do that, we should come out as a group comfortably enough.
On top.
Call
the Puerto Rico game for me.
Well, with the team last night, I'm concerned about some of the guys coming off. I saw Levi came off early in the game.
Yeah.
It's a concern. I saw his tie heavily strapped after the game.
Yeah. I need a squad.
I believe a 4-1 is that.
4-1.
Yeah,
a 4-1. Brett.
I know there's I'm ambitious as him here. I think a 2-0. I think it'll be a professional 2-0 win for Trinidad and Tobago going into this one. And I believe that the quality and experience that we have in the squad would get us through the next game on Sunday.
Terrence Fenwick and his Soca Warriors go into that game against Puerto Rico looking for 3 more points. They are on the road to Qatar 2022. We look forward and we keep our eyes on it as the World Cup journey continues. This is the Ascension Football Show. We continue. 2 footballing minds here with us, and we dig deeper into local football when we come back.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions. Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh. We wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Amante Del Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, McBean, Couva. Amante Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew.
All right, we're back right here on the Ascension Football Show, continuing talking football. And, you know, the pandemic has caused us to reflect. Everybody, sit back, assess things. How can you do things differently? And football is no different. We've been able, in football, to just assess things, look back. Things were going all kind of ways, and we were able now to just sit back and relax and look at things differently. The Pro League is one aspect of football that was heading downhill, and we're at a juncture now where we can reboot, and what do we do to reboot? I have, of course, Brent Sancho and Kieran Edwards here, but just before I go into Pro League, I want to jump off the national team discussion. One of the teams, professional teams in this country, Terminix Lahoketa Rangers, they have been one of the sole teams that have been able to train. They have a crop of players, many of you may not know, that are some of the best players locally here in the country. These players training week in, week out, over the last year at least, fit, ready to go onto a national team. There have been some squabbles between Rangers and the national team setup. Thankfully, Kieran Edwards is the manager, the general manager of the Stimulus Lahokata Rangers team, and he's here with us. So, Mr. Edwards, I would really love you to deal with and just try to clear the air with regards to some of the players that on this Lahokata Rangers team that are already fit and able, as many of us know, in the football fraternity, to represent the national team. Why has that not happened? Has Terry Fenwick, sorry, my apologies, has Terence Fenwick been able to come and have a look at what's happening here at Rangers to assess if any of these players could make a contribution in the national team?
He has not, as yet, made his way to our facilities to watch any of the players train. But before they left, about 2 weeks before they left for this World Cup qualifiers, we had a meeting. I had a meeting with Coach Terry and the head of the normalization committee and the other normalization committee members, the general secretary or the acting general secretary of the TTFA. And we had a open and I think was a very productive meeting where we spoke about the relationship between Rangers and players representing the national team and how the Rangers organization would like to see players be selected, not just for Rangers, but for clubs around the Pro League. It's a professional league. We run a professional organization. Players are contracted year-round at Lahokata Rangers. I know the Pro League would have normally be, players would be contracted for the period where they play the league. And Mr. Fenwick coming in, knowing the environment of the Pro League, coming in as the national coach about a year or so, a little over a year, the practice was select players out of season, call them for a national training or to form a camp. You contact the players directly. But at Rangers, where players are contracted, you cannot contact the players directly. You have to contact the club. So about 8 months ago, Mr. Fenwick would have contacted a couple of players.
Directly?
Directly. We reached out to him and tell him, well, you need to contact the clubs, see the availability of the players, if they're injured, if they're not injured, if they're in training, what they're doing, and we could make players available. But we also told him that as a professional club, there are rules guiding national teams calling players for selection. So we told him normally it's a 5-day window, 3-day window according to which if it's an international game, if it's a World Cup qualifier, if it's a friendly. We told him because we are locally here, we would make players available around 2 to 3 weeks available for you once you select them on your provisional squad. And we told him that I had a meeting with him with the entire Pro League management, and we agreed upon this format. No player was selected in the USA game from Lahokata Rangers on that provisional squad to go. He came back from the USA game. We know the result of that game, and he then engaged players again for Rangers to come on the national team outside of the 2-3 weeks window. We told him, he sent us a letter, we sent him back a letter, explained to him, the players that you selected, a couple of them are injured currently. Come play a game or come and see the players that we are training with that are in the camp. See which players that you might like. We have a few players, added players to the team, and you could select players from there. I think we had a problem with that. Even at the time, the team wasn't training, whatever his reasons. He's free to have his reasons to do it. Then our owner and director of the club send out a somewhat of assistance to Mr. Terry Fenwick in terms of saying, come play Lahokata Rangers and we'll assist. If you win, we'll assist the national team of 100,000, and then some add-ons in terms of television broadcasting, in terms of if we allow persons to come in the game, in terms of gates and whatnot. In the meeting, it was told to me that because of the timeline and the schedule of games he had already scheduled, it was impossible to have the game fit in. But when he comes back from the 2 World Cup qualifiers, he would make some time to come to Lahokata, and then he would reschedule and try to schedule a game, see some of the players, and then select players within the provisional window of the team. So we are hopeful that some of the guys are selected in the upcoming qualifiers. I think we have a good relationship with Mr. Terry Fenwick. At Rangers, he would have done some commentary for the Ascension brand, which is affiliated with the club. So I think we have a good relationship. In the meeting, he said that the director and himself has a good relationship, and he would reach out to Mr. Ferguson and build that relationship and try to strengthen that relationship for the Rangers players to be able to represent the national team. So I think it's a lot in terms of Trinidad culture. It's a lot of bacchanal behind the game because of the hype and the two teams and whatnot.
But it's a work in progress in that hopefully Terence will be able to, after this window, this international break, come and have a look at what's happening here at Rangers and see the players that may add to his team.
Yeah, I'm confident that would happen.
That will happen.
I think the public is eagerly awaiting the game. I think it would happen. I think it will happen within this period here. The game would happen. The players he would.
So the game is still on the table.
Yeah, the game is on the table.
Mr. Ferguson still has that game on the table.
We are here to support the national team in any way.
Because that's a good way for him to see the team.
Yeah.
Come and play against Rangers. A good way for him to see the team.
You get to see players and then you get some assistance.
Mr. Ferguson is a brilliant man, isn't he? You don't want to come and play me.
I believe so.
He's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. Brent, let me switch to Pro League, because a lot of what Kieran would have mentioned there has a lot to do with how Pro League clubs would have operated in this country. And some of it, so for instance, fantastic organization here that is Locketa Rangers, and they're able to contract players year round. Players are comfortable, happy, training, good facilities. Not all Pro League clubs in this country can do that. You know that, Brent, that's the reality. So a national team coach says, I want players from Team X, Team Y, Team A, Team B. And everybody say, yeah, no problem, yeah, go ahead. But Team Locketa Rangers says, no, brother, my players, and rightfully, they would say, you can't just come and take my players. That is a problem. in terms of local and national football.
Yeah, even when I played for San Juan Jablete, when I represented San Juan Jablete, procedure has always been such. The team manager of the national team or the association would write to a club requesting players to come and train and partake, given detail. There's a reason for that. The reason is that obviously the club is the one who takes care of the player, so they will know whether the player is injured, whether or not what space and mind the player is in. I remember as Central FC owner, they wrote to me once and the player was gone missing. So I didn't even know what the player went missing. So my point is, the point of contact should always be the club. That is procedure has been going on for donkey years. Yeah. And it's not something that Terence Fenwick and the national team staff is unfamiliar with. In fact, when I played, I remember one instance where he barred us from playing with the national team.
Terence?
Yes.
As coach of Jablete.
As coach of Jablete. Mm-hmm. That was under Hannibal Najjar,
right, where
he banned our players to go and train with the national team. Mm-hmm. Because of the same reason, because of procedure, and he didn't like the fact that Hannibal Najjar was calling players out to come and play without going through the proper procedure. Yeah. So it is very ironic to hear that procedure has been broken, because that is how world football works. Yeah. There are structures and procedures in place, and it doesn't matter who you may be or who you are. Yeah. If you don't go align with the structures, you will have chaos. And I think the entire situation could have been easily solved by following procedure and by following structure. This conversation, we met with the head coach and the head of the normalization committee last year at some time, and the purpose of the meeting is to have these sorts of discussion. The relationship between any national team and, of course, the TT Pro League is essential, because at the end of the day, we are the production line for the national setup. When the Pro League is doing well, the national team does well. Back in 2006, several players would have passed through the Pro League that would have carried the team to the World Cup. Mm-hmm. And if you look at our history, when you see a dip in the league, you would see a dip in the national team, because we are the highest tier of football in Trinidad and Tobago. So it's important to have a very good relationship, and B, understand the protocols and procedure that come with that relationship. Once that falls down, you will have chaos.
Yeah. I mean, no way am I attempting to tell the national coach how to do his job, but we are in a pandemic, and the reality is that Laukita Rangers, they have been in training, working on the field, off the field. I would just suggest very strongly, many Trinidad and Tobago, the footballing public may not know what's happening here in Laukita Rangers, but there are a number of players that any footballing person with any sort of footballing intellect would know that some of these players can contribute positively to our national team. Yeah? Let's continue Pro League discussion. The Pro League, as I was mentioning at the top of this segment, has an opportunity now, Brent, to just back, as the young people say, and see where to go from here. Is there a future for the Pro League? Last week on the show, Jamal Shabazz suggested that the Pro League basically is dead.
I think in its current formation, I would say no. And I say that because the composition, first of all, of the Pro League and the board and the way it works and the way it does its thing, I think it's past its sell-by date. We have to be innovative. We have to rethink the module. We have to rethink the approach. And of course, that has led to the conversation of this United League and of course bringing the Pro and the Super League together. Even within the context of that, I think there are challenges. In this country, at the top tier football, the persons involved in that have made a commitment, a financial commitment, more importantly than anything else, to pay players, to make sure that they can contract players. The Super League and the clubs in the Super League don't have that financial thrust to do that. So if you're talking about promotion and relegation, I am very sure that any Super League club, or most of the Super League clubs, don't want that financial exposure. That's why they stay in the Super League. So I think in talk and conversation about a unified league, you have to be very careful and understanding what is needed right now at this juncture.
How the clubs work in the country.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you don't want a situation where year in, year out, clubs at the Super League level are winning, but don't want to come up because they don't want that financial exposure.
Yeah, Joel Villafana United get promoted.
Exactly.
And
he's staying clear.
And I say I don't want to go into that Pro League business because I don't have that capital. I want to stay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you look at over the last 5 years or so, the clubs that came up from the Super League, the persons behind the club knew of the financial commitment, was willing to be partake in that financial commitment, and understood what it took to take part in the league. But when you have Super League clubs that don't want to go there, trying to merge into a promotion and relegation, you will see some challenges. And they, of course, there's a different run. The clubs are run completely differently. Of course, Pro League is supposed to be full-time and is full-time, and Super League is not. And if we are to go along as to where FIFA, world football is heading, they're heading down a professional road. They're pushing MAs, they're pushing organizations to go down the professional route, meaning that you have to have X amount of contracted players, minimum wage, etc. FIFA, in its infinite wisdom, is looking at a World Cup of clubs.
Yeah.
That is what they're looking at. And it's a no-brainer because at the end of the day, if the FIFA World Cup brings in $3 billion in revenue, if you are to have a World Cup of clubs, then you'll expect the same. And of course, every 2 years they'll be turning over that kind of revenue. So they've been pushing clubs, the conversation about the Caribbean Professional League, pushing clubs towards being professional, pushing clubs, of course, as it relates to compliance and what it requires for you to be compliant. So to say now that Trinidad and Tobago needs to take a step back and play amateur football is crazy.
Not the direction.
It's not the direction.
Yeah.
So we have to find a way to make this module work. We have to find a way to start putting the building blocks towards moving towards that. And I think the Pro League has to understand that is what is around the corner and face up to it and make sure that we can answer the bell when it is wrong.
I want to come back to the Caribbean Professional League, but Kieran, I want to bring you in here because what Brent suggested there, and going back in my earlier reporting days and following the football, it was suggested, I remember many, many moons ago, that it is important in our structure for interest when the Pro League is now out and for us to have a promotion, demotion system. That's how football works all over the world. And that keeps fans interested, keeps clubs interested. Is there any way, based on all what Brent would have suggested there in terms of how clubs work, you know that, I know that, we know that, is there any way, any format, this United League, are they on to something that we can have some sort of Super League, Pro League, zones, kind of all working, interlocking together?
I really don't see it.
It's not, it can't.
No. Not seeing it. And when you look at any professional tournament, league within the Caribbean, within CONCACAF, you would see there's no promotion. And down to the MLS, which is a huge market, there's no promotion or relegation within the MLS. I think the CONCACAF region, and we have to be real with our
system.
with the reality that we are faced with, and with the clubs that we have, with the persons interested in terms of ownership of clubs within the region. It's not viable to have a promotion and relegation league within the Caribbean. I think a league, hopefully reaching anywhere 16 clubs, if persons are interested over a period of time, it's something that could be attainable. But we have to be real. There's promotion relegation within the zone and whatever second tier composition that is, if it's Super League or whatever name you want to name it. That would happen because the two entities, their players operate within the same amateur, semi-professional realm. So it could work, but when you're talking about semi-professional players and professional players mixing within the same league, you have a problem. And I don't think the Pro League would go for something like that if we're talking that system within the Unified League. I know it had some years back, they talk about the T League, and that was a challenge. The former administration with William Wallace and Keith LeCroy, Mr. LeCroy spoke about a Unified League, who could play, and who can't pay, don't pay. That can work. You can have a professional league.
Why it can't work? Why it can't
because
work?
Not professional.
I don't agree with Mr. Leclerc on anything, and I was willing to hear him out there, and hear me there, Brent. And I am speaking now from a football fan perspective. I was willing to hear Mr. Leclerc out there just based on how that could work. Now, based on what you gentlemen are brighter minds than me in terms of this, but there's no way our zone, Super League, Pro League could make that interlocking happen.
The reason why it can't work is because of where the governing body is heading with this.
Are you talking FIFA here?
FIFA and CONCACAF. Trinidad and Tobago club representative at the CFU club championship level. For you to play there, you have to have 18 contracted players. And so you cannot partake in the tournament.
And that's the fundamental issue.
And CONCACAF, CFU, FIFA, very simple. They're saying to you, this is our mandate. This is what we want for football. This is if you want funding from FIFA, etc., we give you funding based on these criteria. If you don't do it, then you're not going to get the funding. You're not going to be able to partake in these types of tournaments. So it's either we as a country are saying we are keeping a foot with what is happening globally, what is happening within our region, what is happening, the push from our governing bodies, or we are going back and regressing into the amateur status.
And just to add, Brent, that's the fundamental issue there. We're talking about having a Pro League with a Unified League. We're trying to keep that Pro League status to play Caribbean Club Championship. If you're not paying players or you're not contracting players, you cannot have that terminology of saying you have a professional league. That is where the issue lies. So, and for us to be able to still have that, we have the Super League clubs coming into the Pro League, getting promoted, automatically have to start paying players, have to have players contracted during the league. And if they are not up to that, then you'll have teams going down and no teams coming up.
No, so I don't want to belabor the point too much, but back to Mr. Leclerc. If Joel Villafana United wins the Super League, and I am not in a position to pay what is required to pay my players and do what is required to move up to the Pro League, Brent Sancho United came second and he's able to, who can pay and then gets the opportunity.
And if he's not able to,
And we go third, fourth?
Come on,
No.
come on. And that's the
And,
reality. That's the
yeah.
reality we are faced with. And in administration, because...
And you feel that will be the situation in the Super League?
That is the
that
situation.
is the situation.
I was privy to a presentation some years back of the Super League. And they had discussions of that whole idea of teams being promoted. And the team that won say, within the discussion, I'm not willing to go up. And the team that came second say, well, not me too. And the person at the head table say, well, if nobody don't want to go, we'll put the last place team.
That don't make sense.
Come on.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem lies.
I just want to end this discussion, guys, Brent, you've been involved in professional football for many a year here in Trinidad and Tobago. We, as I said, the pandemic kind of has us now where we no football playing, we kind of just back a little bit and checking, seeing what's happening, where's the next move. Professional football, yes, there are clubs with lovely owners that may be able to sustain a club. How many of them do we have in our country that could be able to say we can have a proper professional league / pro league?
It's a challenge, and particularly coming out of the pandemic, club owners are businessmen, are different people. They would have feel the effects of course, the financial effects of the pandemic. I think what needs to be understood is that corporate TNT is not the type to first of all, support with longevity, and support with real sustenance. When you look at the history of the sport, whether at the national level, national team level, or at the league level, the type of money that is needed to sustain football, that is needed from commercial and marketing revenue, you don't find it here in Trinidad. And you could put it up against Dominican Republic, you could put it up against Jamaica, where their corporate side really injects football. When you have a title sponsor for a league, paying $600,000 as a title sponsor for a league, $600 TT a year, then you know you're in problems, because your top tier football from a commercial standpoint, from a corporate sponsorship, a corporate thrust standpoint, is just not there. And history would show you that.
Because to run the team is more than the prize money.
Correct, it's more than the prize money.
Just to put that into context.
It's more than the prize money.
Yeah.
So it shows you that relationship between corporate TNT and football, sports in general, needs improving, it needs enhancing, and it needs to be understood, because if it does, for it to work, that needs to happen. Of course, you have to add television to it. I think without TV, you could forget the conversation of professional football, because we don't have, barring maybe Terminex, Laukita Rangers, you don't have the revenue from gates to sustain any club. Even the idea that is being spoken about with giving each club a community ground, that is a challenge too, because at the end of the day, you're now adding another line for a club to find money, to maintain the ground, to maintain the field, to do all these different things. Yes, you're talking about possible the shops and whatnot with revenue in terms of the stadium, but how are they going to get there?
So 30 seconds, guys. I hear that, and we've heard that. Can professional football work in this? All the FIFA, I understand all of that, Brent, but all of that, we are in a position now where we could sit back and look and see where we're going with professional football. Can professional football work in Trinidad and Tobago? 30 seconds each of you.
It has to work. And you need 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It has to work.
We have to find a way for it to
You
work.
have to find a way to make it work.
Kieran?
Yeah, I truly believe it could work. The Ascension tournament 2 years back shows that it could work. As Brent mentioned, TV, once your league is born out of your revenue from your television over a period of time, I think it would work. And the market is there in Trinidad for it to work.
Talking about the Ascension Football League, that's what we're discussing next. Stay with us.
Pest control is a pain, but you don't have to go it alone. If you're a business that needs someone who will fix your problems point blank, go with the brand that's tested. Go with Terminex. Born almost a century ago in Memphis, Tennessee, Terminex International's mission has been to spread its innovations across the world through its integrated pest and termite management system, reducing the infestation of pests and vermin. Our Trinidad franchise neutralizes the threat of tropical insects and ensures that companies, from food production to hospitality, protect their investment, and get the maximum value from our relationship. And we've been doing it well for over 20 years. Termites and pests are relentless, but they're no match for Terminix. Contact us today for a free consultation and quote, and let's introduce you to convenience. Protect your premises today. Choose a service provider that persists. Talk to Terminix.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Lasso Free Maritime Limited provides boat storage, hull and launch, boat repairs, boat engine repairs, secured parking, 24-hour security, and extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, and down the island parties. Lasso Free Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. Life's better on a boat.
All right, we're back. The football discussion heating up here on the Ascension Football Show. Brent Sancho and Kieran Edwards here with me discussing it all. We just coming off some very good ideas, and I think and the importance of professional football here in Trinidad and Tobago. Whatever direction it goes, we wait to see Pro League, whatever you want to call it, T-League. It needs to have a professional league in this country. We all agree to that. The Ascension League, gentlemen, give us a little snippet. I think 2 years ago, the pandemic just seemed like 2 years ago. A little snippet of what a well-run professional league could look like. Brent, let me get your thoughts first of all on the Ascension League and the role that it is playing on the football calendar.
It is essential. I think when it started 2 years ago, it was there to fill a void. And I think it has gone past filling that void now. And I think it should be a major player in terms of moving forward. In fact, there is no way in all the discussion we're talking about football where Ascension is not part of the bigger discussion. We talked about professional football. We talked about the importance of keeping professional football. You have a tournament that is putting and pumping funds into it, done the right way, has shown credibility in terms of the product it has produced. The conversation needs to be wider. I think the egos need to be set aside, and the conversation between Ascension, whether you want to call it the National League, Unified League, or whatever, it needs to have that conversation, because at the end of the day, we could go on what we've seen so far. Ascension League has not only just been a stopgap measure, it is one of the leagues that the majority of the clubs in this country look forward to playing in. So it is a no-brainer from where I sit that conversation needs to evolve into something bigger with the right minds and the right conversations being had. That is where I see Ascension League.
So Kieran Edwards is the tournament director of this Ascension Football League. And Kieran, based on what Brent is saying there, in my own little experience, I have always seen infighting. Brent could attest to the infighting between Pro League, Super League, zones having their... I have never seen what the normalization committee is now attempting to do in terms of a unified league. I have never seen that in the history of Trinidad and Tobago's football. Can the Ascension League play a role, as Brent is suggesting, and communicate and make it one big happy football family on the football calendar?
I think the Ascension League this year, well, it should have been 2020, but the 2021 season would be just that, a unified league. It encompasses the zones. Every single zone is part of the Ascension League. It encompasses Super League teams and Pro League teams. So the first tier would comprise of mostly Pro League clubs, one or two other clubs that believe they could compete at that level. The second division would comprise of clubs that play the Super League and a couple of zonal winners. So there were no champions or champions for zones in 2019. And the winners of the zones, we asked them to come and take part in the Ascension. Some accepted the challenge to play with the Super League teams, and they would be within the second division.
It's a big umbrella that you're putting
It's
over
basically
over
over all football.
football.
All football. Every single zone has already signed on to be part of the Ascension tournament for 2021. So we already have, I believe, it's about 7 Pro League clubs wishing to play in the 2021 season as well. So and that's 7 out of 11 Pro League clubs. So majority of the Pro League clubs are part of the league. So the concept of a unified league could happen, but you need to respect the spaces in between. So we are not going to try to emulate anything to say we have to promote and because it's a tournament, but the concept of having top flight football, semi-professional football, zonal football, which is grassroots football, development football, under one umbrella, it's real. It could happen, and we did that. We really hope that persons will come out and see football with the backdrop of television, pushed by television. What we are doing here, the show, the Ascension Football Show, that's something that was never really done in any real way in Trinidad and Tobago before. And we are really hoping, and we are pressured and motivated by the owner, Mr. Ferguson, to raise the bar. So the Ascension League being a sanctioned league by the TTFA, tournament by the TTFA for the 2021, we are hoping to really raise the bar when it comes to football.
Yeah.
The league would be really driven by television and broadcasting and marketing of teams and players and the football, the style, the brand, the entertainment of the country. Not just the football, because we have to be real within the sport of football now. It's more than just the guys playing on the field. It's entertainment. The reason why CPL is so large and they get so much revenue within the Caribbean region is because they push entertainment, and it's backed by entertainment, off-the-field entertainment, I'm saying. And the cricket helps. The guys celebrating helps. I think the players within the top flight football, Pro League, the top players in the country, I think the entertainment level is there. And we need to get fans coming back to the games. We need to be able to create an atmosphere that fans will want to leave work, a stressful week at work, and know that there's Friday night football going on. I go and knock 2 back with my brethren, as we say in Trinidad, and I'm going to watch a game. I've got music, and I can spend an afternoon with my friends and be entertained. And we need to be mindful of that and push that, and that is what will be showcased.
Kieran, I'm going to push you on it. When the Pro League, the advent of the Pro League was coming into Trinidad, I was a reporter, and I heard that same spiel. What will make it different this time around? What will make fans, because fans are looking on at the show now, and they would say, but nobody interested in local football. When Manchester play in Liverpool, what will be different this time around with this attempt, with this drive to bring professional football at its highest in Trinidad and Tobago?
A couple of things. 2 things mainly. One, the execution of it. I believe when the league happens, when the tournaments happens, you would see the execution behind the little things, the entertainment, the television. And 2, the science behind it. I think we did feasibility studies behind football and what could have a league be sustainable within the country. I think that level of insight in terms of what could really make a league sustainable would be the difference with the Ascension and what we are doing at Ascension, and what anyone else would do. It's not rocket science. We are not reinventing the wheel here. We are just doing it the right way. And I think once you do things the right way, consistently over time, you'll get results. So I believe that would be the difference at the Ascension.
Brent, let me bring you on just quickly to wrap on that. From an objective point of view, seeing football over the years, the struggles of the Pro League, when the Ascension League came out, there was a little spark. Clubs, you were seeing the excitement, you were seeing a little difference. From an objective point of view, what do you think was the reason for that?
I think I agree with what was said. Was it saying? I think the execution the high execution that we saw in the league, the community teams playing against each other, and the attention to detail. I think what Ascension brought. The television aspect of it, something that we didn't have before, as it relates to that high consistency of it. Those things really is what really captured the imagination, the Ascension. When you could come, as Kira was rightfully saying, you could come, rhythm section here, dancers there, all these things happening, carnival-like atmosphere created. And again, when you have a team from Guayari, Guaya United coming up here and playing against Sanmon Jablute, you know, the communities are, of course, playing against each other and whatnot. That is what it brought. That is what Ascension brought. And it was able, as I said, to be sustained by a high level of execution. It was done properly. The bars were well stocked. It was well done. And these are the little things that make football successful, commercially successful, fans wanting to come. Because as you rightfully said, at the end of the day, the average Trinbagonian, they have choices. You know, you have a choice. You want to go on the avenue, or you want to go here, wherever people decide to go. But if you could come here and spend $100 and get value for money, that is what Ascension was providing, you will come. And people were coming because of that, because they were getting value for money, because they were getting a high product, they were getting a well-executed product, with, of course, artists and everything that is Trinidad and Tobago, as it relates to how we view sports. That is why people were part of it, and that's why people come. And that's why, as I said at the beginning of this segment, there needs to be a conversation between the powers that are now setting up this and talking about this unified league and Ascension. Because at the end of the day, they are now here trying to create the wheel, and here is where the wheel is spinning at Ascension. So there's a no-brainer that conversation needs to happen.
Yeah, it is clear that the community-driven football that the Ascension League would have propelled, the Pro League could take an example from that. I think professional football needs that sort of community-driven vibe in the football. I think that's clear.
Well, you don't have to look far. I mean, you look at the SSFL. There's a reason why people go out and support
That's
it.
right,
Because there's an affinity to your school.
Yeah.
There's something attached.
Yeah.
Similarly, with community-based football, there is some sort of affinity. When a young man from around the bend there in La Hoqueta playing, of course, he would bring the houses that is around him because of the interest. They would come out and support. And
this is my team playing here.
Exactly. This is my team. And so it has to have that. And the way to have it is the way that Ascension set it up, of course, with the execution and everything that they bring and the television. Because at the end of the day, a young man and his family want to see him play on TV.
Yeah.
That is a big part of it as well. And I think all of those components need to be involved, and it is already happening here at Ascension.
Yeah, we're seeing a spike in cases again, Kieran Edwards. We are eagerly anticipating the start of the Ascension League. What can you quickly tell us, just to wrap? When are we going to see the Ascension League? When is football going to return to the country?
Well, we have reached out to the powers that be in terms of getting the clearance to play. For most part, we are hoping for within about 6 weeks to hopefully to start the league. Even though with a spike in cases, we have laid different options on the table in terms of playing behind closed doors, having the games televised, because we are already backed by television where we could send it to the homes and whatnot. Persons are home, even if where you work and you go back home because of the pandemic. So now there's something on TV to watch. You're seeing your community playing on television. There's that rivalry, and you could go home and watch a game. For the sports fans, now it's something locally. Since CPL in Trinidad and Tobago, there has not been any local sports played. So it would be something for the local fans. So we're hoping that the discussion is there. We have a meeting soon with the Minister of Sports and the sport company on the whole matter, and we hope that it's a positive meeting, and we could hopefully within a couple of days come to you and say, Joel, the league is this date. And I think it's soon. It will happen soon with everything.
The reality is that football can assure the authorities, because we understand that we are in a pandemic and we understand the severity of what is happening. But football can control what's happening in football.
I
think recreational football was allowed.
which to me is strange, because if you're allowing recreational football, league football is a lot more organized.
Yeah.
And look, at the end of the day, the rest of the world is doing it. You don't need to create something new in terms of a manual or a document. Football is being played in countries where the pandemic is. And
correct.
they have strict protocols and procedures. And any league that wants to run or wants to happen or wants to take place would know that there are manuals, there are certain guidelines, etc. What is disappointing for me is that I've not heard the health ministry trying to give a manual to sport. You keep hearing sport having to go to, we are not health people, they're the health people. They should be telling us what can be done. And until they take this thing seriously and say, listen, sport needs to be played, this is what you need to do to play sport, then I think the conversation would always keep going around in circles, because they're the ones that know what needs to happen for sport to play. And sport can be played. There are different things and measures and protocols that can be put in place to make sure that it's a safe environment for players, coaches, etc. And of course, the ability for the young men to be able to apply their trade, because at the end of the day, these players rely on the sport for money. So we're going into a year plus now without the players being able to earn money. So we will be losing players, because eventually, of course, they're going to look for a job and move away from football. Yeah. So I think it's essential that the conversations that Ascension and sport company, etc., are having to recognize these factors and the importance of restarting the sport. I really don't see anything other than a very strong conversation between the Ministry of the Health, sport company, and Ascension, or the league, or whatever league that is happening, to say this is what needs to happen for football. Can you do it, yes or no? I think that's as simple as it should be.
I told you Brent Sancho wears a number of hats. That hat he was just wearing was former Minister of Sport. Hey, when we come back, we put a wrap on it. But Brent, Kieran, and I will select our all-time best national Trinidad and Tobago team that we saw play when we come back.
The situation we have here is that these characters, and I refer to them as pests, right? What they are doing is destroying our country, but not on my watch. No street, no turf, no block shall belong to these cockroaches, right? It's no longer business as usual. Happy hour is over. If they don't fear God, at least they will fear Terminix.
Have you considered how your methods could impact on pests across the country?
I find we look after the rights of pests as opposed to the rights of the 1.3 million law-abiding citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. I wonder if Roach Ladden's son come here for the carnival, if you'll interview him, eh?
But how could you defend one shot, one kill?
What, you want me to throw a pillow at him?
I didn't say that.
No, well, if a roach jumps in front of you now, what will you do?
Run.
Oh, Jesus, Lord Father.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Hey, Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh, we wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension, Ascension, Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
You know, I've never done this in all my sporting career, naming a national football team, an all-time favorite national football team. So I'm so glad that I had this opportunity. That's what we're going to do. You can do it as well and share it with us on social media. But this is our all-time national football team representing our country for over the years. So bear in mind, these gentlemen, we're all approximately the same age. So we are not old men here. So all approximately the same age. So we'll be talking about the players that we have seen play. We start with our goalkeepers, gentlemen. Kieran, so who's in goal for you?
The guy in goal for me would be Shaka Hislop. I would go with Shaka. He beat out the Spider Carter. He beat out my good friend Jamal Shabazz. I know I'll get a lot of looks in the Pro League.
Jamal is the number 3?
I think number 3.
He ain't making the bench?
But he behind him. So I think for me, Shaka in goal for me.
Shaka in goal. Brent, who in goal for you?
This is a department that Trinidad has truly been blessed in, goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I mean, I must say that over the years we've had some good, very, very good goalkeepers. Even up to now, we have some talented ones. But I think in terms of the goalkeeper I've seen play, I'll have to go with a guy called Andrew Sleepy Ali. Andrew Ali from San Fernando Tech. And football fans who are avid supporters of intercol football and colleges league football will remember Andrew Ali. He was just an unbelievable goalkeeper, agility, flexibility, everything. He had the whole package. So for me, in goal, I'd go with Andrew Ali.
Interesting. So 2 for Shaka, because I'm also going with Shaka. Earl Spiderman Carter, I think really, in my mind, I have heard so many stories. When I started to follow, I said he was now being edged out by Michael Maurice, I think, back in those strike squad days. But Shaka Hislop, I think, in our generation would have been the prime goalkeeper that we did. So Shaka and a little flashback from Brent and through Ali. Let's go back 4, gentlemen. So first of all, before we go back 4, what system you playing, Kieran?
I lose a little sleep over the system. Because of some players trying to fit in players, bring in some players. I think I would go with a 4-3-3. A 4-3-3 system.
4-3-3. Let me just hear what system you playing.
I was going 4-4-2, but Terrence sidekick over here, he want to get fancy on me. Very simple 4-4-2.
So I'm going a little modern. I'm going 4-2-3-1.
Oh Lord.
I'm going 4-2-3-1. I'm going 4-2-3-1. So let's go. Back 4.
Back 4. Ansel Elcock, left back. One of the best wing backs I've seen longevity in his career as well. Playing one of the early players to go into the MLS, pulling through guys. I think Ansel Elcock for me would be that guy. I know he still can go to Mexico, but I think Ansel for left back. My 2 stoppers would be my mentor. I started off playing a defender as a stopper, and I believe Marvin Andrews, dog. I think every team should have Marvin Andrews as a stopper. The next stopper, no, Brent is not you. Brent is not my next stopper.
Brent got to walk home now.
Brent, you're on my bench.
This one, watching the strike squad, knowing the strike squad, I wanted to go with a strike squad stopper. But I think Dennis Lawrence for me, in terms of what he represents to national football, scoring that iconic goal, making us go to the World Cup, I think, not having Dennis in that squad, I think I can't sleep at night. So I think
hear the sentiment.
I think Dennis for me would be as in the stopper with Andrews, and that's that World Cup trust defense. So I would go with
right back.
Right back, I would go with strike squad. I'll go with Brian. I'll go
Williams.
with dreadlocks. I would go with Brian Williams as my right back. With that, and that'll be my back.
That's a good back 4. I
think that's a winning back 4.
Brent.
I'll go I go from right to left.
I thought you had to the stoppers and pick yourself.
No. I have Brian Williams as my right back. I concur with that. I would go with, as one of my stoppers, Richard Bomber Theodore.
Good.
as one of these stoppers. Easily one of the best defenders. His life was snuffed out at an early age, as we recall. But to me, easily the best defender I've seen, and had the pleasure to share the pitch with on one or two occasions. So for me, he would be definitely one of the stoppers. Clayton Morris would be my second stopper. I think he's an air of confidence, and he brings a lot of calm to any back four. And he could do the dirty side of the game as well as he could also play out of the back. So for sure he would be that person and play holding the stopper with Theodore. And the left back, I'd have to agree with it was that Ansel Elcock. I think in terms of his mobility, getting up and back, the modern day left back. It's a department where we don't have a huge amount of numbers in terms of Trinidad and Tobago history in football. But for me, Ansel Elcock has shown the most consistency at national level.
No 2006 defenders, no World Cup defenders, Brent?
But you picked them.
Okay.
Marvin Dog Andrews and make the cut. You're the bench?
There you go.
You're the bench.
Yeah.
You're the bench. You're the bench. You're the bench.
You sit down next to me.
Marvin and Brent on the bench. Let me start with my two stoppers. My two stoppers, certainly stoppers. My two stoppers are Marvin Dog Andrews. I think Marvin is that ultimate defender in Trinidad and Tobago that you remember. And I'm going with Clayton JB Morris as well, because I said, make sure I have a captain. And I said, you see, I talk about Clayton. I think Clayton is my captain. I've seen Clayton play, as I said, for his entire career, and Clayton is that calm influence at the back.
Dennis' goal for me is what beat him out.
So so when you almost make me do that, and because Dennis Lawrence probably really needs to, just based on profiling alone, and the contribution that he's made. But yeah, so I'm going with those two. On the right, so I'm good. I think we've had some good fullbacks in a way. We've had some good fullbacks over the years. So I'm going with Carlos Edwards. Only because the style of football. Okay. So I think Carlos. I want overlapping. I want the modern day. So I want the modern day. Okay. The modern day. And I will show you why I'm doing this, right? Listen to my football intellect, man. And I was going with Marvin Foston, strike squad man, Marvin Foston. And I'll explain that as well as I deal with the team. So that's my two fullbacks: Marvin Foston, Carlos Edwards, Clayton Morris, and Marvin Andrews. I am going with the 4-2-3-1. So let's talk midfield now.
All right, midfield for me, I think any midfield, Russell Latapi picks himself.
Yeah.
So for me, Russell is in the midfield. Growing up watching midfielders, Kerry Jameson has to be in my midfield strike squad. Being able to move forward and score a goal, score some iconic goals for Trinidad and Tobago as well, some rockets.
Yeah.
So Kerry is there.
Latapi and Jameson in a combination.
Yeah, so Latapi Jameson. The third one it's a challenge for me. Yeah. We have a lot of former captains playing midfield as well. We have Nakit, we have Rouge as a captain in the midfield. So we sometimes we had Denzel Theobald as a captain as well in the midfield. But I think for me, the new school, I want to have somebody from the new school in that midfield, and I really think that Kevin Molino as somebody to pass on that baton to maybe a Levi or somebody in the future. I think Molino has stepped up in the most recent years as being that person. I want to put him in the mix in my midfield. So Kevin Molino is my third person, will be the third person in my midfield alongside Russell and Kerry Jameson in that midfield.
Not bad.
Not bad midfield. Across all generations. Across all generations.
Well, as I said, I go with a 4-4-2. So Russell, of course, picks himself in the middle of the park. I think he is. That's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
But for me, in my 4-4-2, you have to have Anthony Sherwood as part of my midfield. I think easily one of, if not the most gifted footballer to come out of these shores. I've been able to see him play. I was able to play alongside him. Obviously his injury when he broke his leg, I think is what really shortchanged his career. Yeah. Not saying that he had a bad career, but I think he could have gone on to even bigger things. But to me, Anthony Sherwood is a man you have to make any all-time Trinidad team in terms of talent and what I've seen. Now I go to the 2006 Warriors. I think Otis Whitley.
Otis was on my mind.
have to be in any midfield.
Yeah, Otis was on.
When you talk about a box-to-box, somebody could drive, score goals, could do the dirty side of things. He encompasses everything. He's a one-stop shop, Otis Whitley. And I will move her forward to play on my left side. So I put in Leonson Lewis to play my left side, midfield.
In the midfield.
In the midfield.
Yeah, interesting.
I think 1v1 is very few players in my memory. I think he's probably arguably the best we've seen on 1v1 scenarios in a Trinidad and Tobago shoot. So that is my midfield. 4, Sherwood, Otis, Latapi, and of course Leonson Lewis.
That's a strong midfield. All right. So because I went 4-2-3-1, right? So what I'll do is I'll name the 3 in the middle of the park, and I'll leave the 2 wingers and the striker for last, right? So my double pivot is Kerry Jameson, and a real toss-up between, because I want a number 8, I want a worker, and I was toss-up between Otis Whitley and Angus Eve. And I want to give Otis I want to give Otis, because I said Otis I think is that worker, could come back dirty, but have that little flair that could come through and connect with the general that is Russell Latapi. That will play in that little number 10 slot kind of thing, right? So that's my 3 midfielders. I'm going with Otis Whitley, Kerry Jameson, and Russell Latapi. Strikers.
Up top. This one is a hard one for me.
This one was hard for me.
Well, it's hard in one position because I think, for me, Stern John and Dwight York, automatic. Not top striker in terms of Dwight York, for me, the best player coming out of Trinidad and Tobago. And Stern John, the most goals wearing a Trinidad jersey.
Still.
So those 2 are there in my up top for me. But the third one is where it's.
So just now you're playing 4-3-3.
4-3-3.
So Stern in the middle.
Stern in the middle. York on one side. The next one, it was a toss-up between Leonson Lewis, Prosper. Peter Prosper. And we have Kenwin Jones up top, and Mickey Chapman for me. Being a Rima boy, seeing Mickey Compre days, Mickey, in terms of just talent for me, Mickey would win out. Because it's on timely passing as well. I think Trinidad fans missed out on seeing a real talent. What he would have done in the Caribbean Club Championship. In Gold Cup, I think Mickey Shotman was really something special, and he would make my 3 with some biases from the east.
Mickey, Stern John,
and York
and Yorkie. So similar. I'll tell you. My 2 wingers would be Leonson Lewis. I think he's the best one-on-one person that I have seen take on defenders, run past men and leave men for dead. And cross the ball to Philbert Jones. That was iconic in my days as a young fan. And as I said, Dwight York goes without saying. So I would want Dwight York from one side doing his thing and coming in. And I think the best striker we've seen in this country is Stern John. Most deadly on the turn, that half a turn that Brent's still looking for where the ball is and the ball in the goal, that kind of thing. Stern John is probably the best that I've seen in terms of a striker in this country. So
and Brent too, who your 2 on top, Brent?
Ask him, Brent. No, the 2 on top. The 2 on top. No,
if you say 2 on top, you know you 2, they're picking the cell.
So Stern and Dwight.
And then Stern will have problems with Brent with if they're partner. I know about Ascension.
But this was more difficult than I thought. Because we've had some players over the years that could toss up.
The midfield, I think, is a toss-up. We've been blessed in that department with talented players. The Molino could have been part of it in terms of the modern time, as I said. But in terms of ability, we've been very fortunate.
Denzel Theobald, of course. We've had some real solid midfielders. And we have had guys who didn't even go on. This guy, I try to remember his name now, and I'm forgetting his name.
Hardis.
Kerwin Jemmott. Kerwin Jemmott was. I was so angry with Kerwin Jemmott at that point in time because of how talented that I thought that he was.
We lost a couple of players because of focus and the driver of the game.
And they did
Orion
it.
Hiley is one.
Orion Hiley.
I believe he would have been a real talent.
Best I've seen at that level in terms of Orion Hiley. I think Russell said he was the next midfield maestro. That didn't come through. Guys, thank you very much. This has been great. This has been
Pleasure being here.
serious, important stuff that we need to put on the table, as well as some fun as well. Kieran Edwards and Brent Sancho joining us on the Ascension Football Show. Guys, I hope you had a good time with us on this hour. Every weekend we present the Ascension Football Show. I'm Joel Vilfano. We'll see you next.